walking and talking. Now I continue a video which I started recording approximately 35 minutes ago. First 30 minutes I recorded like the stream of consciousness. It was first attempt to go in the crowded places and talk to myself, just holding a camera in front of myself and just talking. And well, it was kind of successful. I met a friend who, like, it was really unexpected, and we talked with him for a few minutes, and it was, you know, after that I felt much better than it was in the beginning. Because in the beginning, when I started recording myself, I felt a little bit anxious. Like, not a little bit, but I felt really anxious. But especially when I was like walking around other people. But when I met my friend, and after this short talk, I started feeling like really amazing, and I was able to focus on my thoughts, and I wasn't distracted by other people and by anything like what I saw. And now I want to continue this talk, but I want to pick up a new topic, because like before I finished talking about the man whom I discovered on YouTube. He who inspired me to do this exercise, walking and talking. And so I said something about this man, but now I'm gonna focus on different ways of thinking, because it was kind of my program. I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was thinking about it a lot, like maybe a few hours. And during these few hours I was like trying to see how I can develop this thought, like different types of thinking. And this beautiful place, I'm going to that first. So I was by seeing, I mean, I was just lying in my bed with no light, complete darkness, and I was just like giving these thoughts and like a way to develop themselves. I mean, I didn't do that intentionally. I had no like a script or a path which I wanted to follow. It was, oh, okay, ways of thinking. There were 3 ways of thinking, and basically these 3 ways, they are like, you can find this scheme this structure in many different, you know, stuff. Like many concepts. But okay, 3 ways of thinking was pre-modern way of thinking, modern way of thinking, and the postmodern way of thinking. And I also like to consider these ways as like memory, attention, and imagination. So, and also it's like, if we go to the time, it's past, present, and future. So basically these like words like pre-modern, modern, and postmodern, they were derived from time. So it's just another way of talking about time, because modern means like what's going on right now. I mean, it's like it's present time. Pre means before, it's like past, and post, future. Post means future, or implies future. And so this idea, some sociologists work on developing this idea. I heard about it, like, I don't remember exactly when I heard about it first time, but I started paying attention to this concept after watching lectures of Dugin and structural sociology. And it was 2015. I discovered his lectures. I watched the full course of lectures, and like at once, just for a few days, and then I rewatched it next month. But the point was like 3 types of thinking: pre-modern, modern and postmodern. And Dugin, in his lectures, he was basically talking about like pre-modernist kind of religious way of thinking, modern, it's a kind of scientific way of thinking, and postmodern, it who knows what kind of way of thinking. Well, Dugin himself, it's like he kind of pre-modernist. I mean, his way of thinking, when I watch his videos, I don't watch them like a lot. I mean, during the last few years I probably watched maybe 5 or 10 short videos, maybe more, maybe 15 short videos where he was talking about different stuff. And since I don't watch anything in Russian, it's not the content which I like to pay attention to. But when I used to use Russian in my thinking, in my usual way of conceptualizing the world and myself. So that time I was that time I lost what I wanted to say. Dugin, when I watched him, that time I used to watch him like more frequently. And so in his like videos, when he just talks about different stuff, it's like I don't really, it's not about agreement or disagreement. It's rather about, acceptance, or okay, I don't have proper words to express what I want, what I think. The point is, when you look how somebody talks or how somebody thinks, you can analyze it in a kind of reasonable way. So you can just analyze the structure of somebody else's speech. You can think, oh, okay, he talks about this, he just tried to argue about this issue, and there are some statements, and he just supply this argument with these statements, with these claims, and he doesn't like see this and that, but he just can. But other parts of his speech, they are pretty logical, and it's like one way. Another way, it's like kind of you destructuralize somebody else's speech, and if you want to understand like what he or she talks about. But another way is like kind of intuitive way, and I know that it's most of the time incorrect. And since I read this book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, in the beginning of this year, I started thinking about it more deeply, and I realized that intuition is kind of unreliable thing, because 80%, like 90% most of the time incorrect. So if I just feel, it's about feeling, of course. So you just watch a Dugin, you don't analyze what he's saying, like you don't analyze his premises, you don't analyze his conclusions, you don't analyze the topic, you just feel, and if you feel bad, you just stop watching. You say yourself, okay, it's like stupid, I don't like it. And you feel, or if you feel good, if it helps you to understand something, or if you like just the way how somebody talks, you may say, oh, okay, in that case, let's watch it, and you continue watching. And so I try to use both. I don't just rely only on my intuition or only on my reason. If I like something, I try to analyze why I like it. I try to think. I try to really think deeply about why I like, how it may be useful for my goals or whatever, from my thinking. And if I don't like, most of the time, of course, I don't watch. Most of the time, it must be confessed, certainly. Most of the time, I don't watch what I don't like. So if I just start watching a video, like an example, recently when I shifted to Russian for 1 week, it was almost a month ago, I decided that I need to shift back in Russian, and I was thinking in Russian the whole week, and I was reading Russian books, and just one book, a few books. I read William Jay's Psychology. It's a book like Basement of Psychology. I don't know. It's like it was a translation from from English, and so I read half of the book, and also I was reading Carl Rogers' Psychotherapy, client-directed psychotherapy, and I also read maybe like 1/3 of the book, and also I watched like different videos. I watched people whom I paid attention to in times when I was like studying Russian and studying philosophy, psychology, all this stuff. And so when I watched a few people, like let's say Chernigovskaya or Pereslegin or Baumeister or Dugin, the same Dugin, yeah, who Victor Wachstein. Like there's like 5-6 people whom I watched before. I just what they're talking now, what they're talking about now. Like 2 years has gone. Let's check it. And when I started watching Chernigovskaya, I immediately felt the kind of, you know, it's not anxious. It's like kind of real disappointment. She doesn't just continue talking the same bullshit she was talking a few years ago. She just well, as I said, it felt really bad, and but I didn't rely only on my feelings. After that, I started thinking about it, and I spent maybe an hour thinking about like why I perceive it as a bad content, and I discovered like lots of her like statements or premises, and I realized how they don't fit in my model of perceiving reality and what's going on, and like I just argued with her in my imagination, and and it wasn't just, oh, I feel bad, I wouldn't watch. I watched 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then I analyzed the content, and then I decided, no, I won't watch. I don't like it. And the same I did with Dugin, the same I did with all other people, but I watched Pereslegin. I watched 10, during that period of time I watched, not 10, there was, I don't remember, maybe 8 or 9, maybe even 10. I don't remember exactly how many, but there was the whole course of lectures. I put a question, it wasn't even a question, statement on YouTube, like Pereslegin 2019, and YouTube immediately gave me like a course of lectures which he read at Novosibirsk, some university. Okay, not Novosibirsk, but Yekaterinburg. Yeah, and so I watched the whole course of his lectures, and I wouldn't say that I like Pereslegin too much. I liked him like in 2012 when I watched this first course of lectures for side thinking, but after 2015 I didn't take Pereslegin seriously anymore. But now I watched this course of lecture and I was merely satisfied with that course. But again, the point is different types of thinking. I come back to what I was talking like 10 minutes ago before I get to the forest. So different types of thinking, and it's easier to understand which kind of thinking somebody like adopts uses. In the case of Dugin, when I said about Dugin that I started watching him, and so I didn't like what he was talking, the point was that in his lectures, when he reads his lectures, which are lectures recorded at Moscow State University at 2009, they are published on the internet, on YouTube, and so you can just watch them. Well, in these lectures he uses a kind of, let's call it modern way of thinking, because I'm not sure that I I can use postmodern way of thinking, because for me it's not clear, and I think it's like it's not just not clear, it's just, well, it's not a way of thinking, it's something else. And we can't say that we can divide thinking in two ways. We can divide just them in three ways. We can divide thinking in two ways, like logical thinking and mythological thinking. And these two ways, it's like they're not clear all the time. Yeah, sometimes it may be like pure logical thinking, like Socrates is a human are mortal, Socrates is mortal. Pure logic, never seen in real life. Another like completely mythological way of thinking, you know, a bird flew. A bird flew to this direction. After that, rain has dropped from the sky. Means that when bird flies this direction, there should be rain, something like that. Mythological way of thinking, no connection between the reason. It's like really pure connection between cause and effect, or no connection whatsoever. Just okay, what happens after something considered as what happened because of something. But it's not just one thing. Mythological, I think, is like maybe completely unlogical, unreasonable, and in usual life we see like differences among people. If we just see people, if we try to put them in these categories of different types of thinking, you never see like 100% logical person or like 100% mythological. But I guess like both ways are possible, surely, because well, some men with psychological disorders can really be absolutely unlogical. It's like somebody who just white what somebody who is drunk to death can use these types of thinking. And the same thing about pure logical thinking. It may be some mathematician, or it may be some scientists, and maybe an article written somewhere. And so you can say that it's kind of logical thinking. And when I watched Dugin's lectures, it's kind of logical and modern, let's say, way of thinking. But when I watch his videos, when he just tries to talk about something, like something what I'm doing right now, but I'm not sitting in a special room, I'm just walking and talking. And so it's also kind of, let's say, mixed way of thinking. Like I'm trying to be logical, I'm trying to focus on particular thing, I'm trying to discover like something interesting, I'm trying to find something what I can say, something meaningful, and just talk about it and see what do I know about that and how it can help me to to improve my life. Also, it's a kind of psychological training. I'm trying to focus my attention, and also I'm practicing language. I learn a new language. The point is to practice it, to talk to yourself. Like it feels natural, and when you just walk and talk, it's almost the same as you just communicate with somebody else. But it's like kind of indirected way of communication. And so about when Dugin just records his talks about some something, when he doesn't read a lecture, his way of thinking, I don't like it, because mostly it's like it's based on kind of it's a kind of mythological way of thinking. But I'm not sure that it's what he really thinks. Probably that's the point why I don't like most of people's videos, because they are not real. In like every time when they talk to the public, every time when they record videos or when they read lectures, they're not real. They don't talk what they really care. They just take some not stupid, sometimes it's smart, sometimes it's stupid, but they take something and they become like, you know, I can't describe it. I don't know how to call people when they behave that way, but it's like they're not robots, but in some sense they lose their authenticity. Authenticity, right? They lose their authenticity, and also they lie a lot. That's also the problem, and they know what they lie, and they don't try to speak truth. Like now, I know that I'm during this video I said lots of lies. For example, it wasn't like intended lies. They weren't intended lies, but basically, since I don't know what to say, I'm just trying to see what I can say. And sometimes I catch myself at what I'm talking. I'm not believing that, or it's just a way, you know. I don't know why I said it was kind of accidental. Of course, there's nothing accidental, but basically, when I think about it afterwards, when I watch my videos, I catch myself many times, not on like real lies, but like, I'm not trying to deceive somebody here. I'm not trying to, you know, to sell some idea or whatever. I'm just trying to be myself. That's the point. But here also kind of, you know, underlying motivation, and I don't talk about it. That's the point. And also when people, maybe it's not lying. For example, when this, like Dugin or whoever else, talks about something, he takes a subject or an idea, he tries to develop it, but he does it on a very superficial level, and he doesn't go deep, and he presents his superficiality as something deep, and he knows exactly that it's superficiality, but he still continues just saying that it's deep, it's really just like this man Leo from actualize.org. Like really controversial subject. I started watching him. What's time? Well, I have 7 minutes to to tell something about Leo. Yeah, it's like there's lots of like ambiguous feelings which I have towards this man. And I started watching him 2016. I started watching him 2016, and since that, like when I started understanding language, and first time when I watched him, I couldn't understand what he was talking about. I didn't know the language at all. I knew, but again, after watching 30 minutes, I couldn't figure out what was what he tried to say. I could understand the topic. For example, he was talking about meditation, and since I knew something about meditation as well, I could understand some basic concept, but I couldn't go into details. And but when I started understanding language at this September of 2016 or October, I started watching him like every week, every video. And another reason why I started like watching him and why I admired him at the beginning too much, like not too much, but really I took him seriously, was that he read Sext Empiricus. And the Sext Empiricus, he had an episode exactly at this September or October of 2016, and he was talking about Sextus Empiricus, and I read Sextus Empiricus a year before, at 2015, and it's like what he was talking about Sextus Empiricus was basically the same what I thought about Sextus Empiricus. And I mean, he just explained in English. Like I wrote some, not articles, but in my journal I analyzed my thoughts about Sextus Empiricus, and it really shifted my way of thinking. It's kind of postmodern thinking, if this way of thinking exists. Sextus Empiricus' thinking is a kind of postmodern thinking. And this man, Leo, he was, wow, just Sextus Empiricus, I read him, this is true skepticism. And here what I think about it, and here what it is, and here why it's really important, and blah blah blah. And I was listening for an hour, and wow, this man, like he is real philosopher. He is real philosopher. He reads really amazing books, and he talks about these books, and I discovered him, and I was so happy. But then, like after few years of watching him, especially when he just like an amazing thing, like in Sextus Empiricus, he seems to understand what is skepticism, how it works. But year after, he already talks about absolute truth. He already talks about like love and God, and that they are absolute, you know. And he talks not just God, like religious kind of God. He created his own God, and he tells that you can know it through experience. You can, you know, you can it's like you. I mean, he talks to an audience and says that like I know what God is because I had experience of that, and it's absolute, and it's nothing, and it's in infinity, and blah blah blah. Well, that's amazing. That's, I mean, from one side, like I like him. From another side, he thinks approximately in the same way as I think, but most of the time he like repeats himself over and over and over again, and he was talking about Sextus Empiricus and this skepticism, and after a year he just became a new dogmatist. He invented new dogma and started, you know, talking about, he haven't started, he did it before, but he just he doesn't talk about skepticism anymore. He doesn't, in the way as he talk about Sextus Empiricus. He doesn't tell like, oh, okay, there's no truth, you can discover it, every truth is subjective, and there's no absolute. There's nothing like that. Well, okay, ambiguous feelings, yeah, really, his way of thinking, it's like I like it, but I don't like lots of examples when he just start talking and there's just a few minutes, and there's hundreds examples or even more, and he just counts everything. It's like he has a thesis. Yeah, he has this pretty strong modern way and academic way of thinking, and he always criticizes science, but he himself is really like, he's not a scientist by the way, but he's a scientist, but in his own way of defining science. But the way how he thinks, it really most of the time it's really academic. So I can, and it's it's not always clear, because often, especially in last time when I listen to what he's talking about, I see lots of, you know, missing points. He takes a thesis or you know, statement or claim or issue, and he starts working on this issue, giving lots of premises, conclusions. He always you know, gives like this. His way of reasoning is like almost always the same, and just 1 minute. Okay, his way of reasoning is almost always the same, and besides that, like sometimes he can talk about really important, amazing stuff, but most of the time, like now, he just stuck to the same idea, and he repeats it over and over and over, and that's okay. I mean, for him, it's like it's a business. He just makes these videos, and he believes that, well, they will help humanity to become conscious. That's kind of stupid, but for him, it's like a business. It's not just, you know, the way of self-discovery. Maybe he did self-discovery and self-learning at the beginning of his career, but now he already knows what's going on. He already knows the truth. Okay, so just 1 minute, and soon I must finish talking, and so that's funny to see two old women listening to music on cell phone and talking in the forest.